Good morning. That's a tall order. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. When I decided I would speak for the second Sunday of Advent and the word was peace, everything that could possibly happen to get in the way of my peace slapped me in the face. Advent, the word Advent is Latin, adventus, which means coming. The 6th century Roman Christians celebrated Advent. It dates back to the 4th and 5th centuries in Spain and Gaul. So it's a very old period that we celebrate. And Advent means preparation. Preparation for the awakening of the Christ consciousness within us. The 4 Sundays of Advent, words are hope, peace, joy, and love. Last week, Duke spoke about hope. Nia next week will speak about joy. And then finally, Duke will come back and speak to us about love. So I come to bring you peace. Do you have peace? Every day, 24/7, 365 days a year? I have to confess, I don't. The ministers are often called upon to counsel and talk to people and help them through their difficulties. But what many people don't understand, ministers are human, just people. People who chose to go into the ministry for just that reason, to help other people. But if we didn't have our own struggles, we wouldn't be able to identify with anyone. We'd be deep inside of ourselves. So it's a minister's secret that I'm going to share with you, and that is, whatever we're going to speak on, opportunities show up right away to give us some practice. So I've had lots of practice this week in my own family, with the events around the world, in San Bernardino. Lots of practice to address this thing called peace. Reverend James Stacy, who was here for many years, he's the senior minister at Unity at the Lake in Sunrise Beach, Missouri, is recuperating from pneumonia, so please keep him in your prayers. He's also on my Wednesday evening service team. And we were talking on the phone. I was telling him I didn't feel very much like a minister this week, and I didn't feel very much like talking about peace this week, and I just didn't feel peaceful at all, and nothing in my life was peaceful. And he said to me that when talking about forgiveness, and Nan was talking earlier about the challenge she had when talking about forgiveness, everything that could possibly make you realize that you're not practicing what you preach will come up. And he said to me that Unity's co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, near the end of her life, said she still needed to work on the tendency to be judgmental. So isn't it refreshing when someone stands up here professing to be a minister and you find out you could just as well be standing up here yourself, right? You don't need me or any of us, because we're preaching to the choir and them too. So how can I talk about peace when there's so much turmoil going on? December 2nd, 14 were killed during a holiday party in San Bernardino. Just a month ago, November 13th, 128 were massacred at a soccer game in Paris. Refugees from Syria are desperately seeking a home of safety and peace. In our community, people are sleeping under bridges right near the plaza. There's child abuse, there's social unrest, there's poverty, there's starvation. So how can I talk about peace? Kansas City ranks 37th in violent crimes of the 100 most violent cities in the United States. How can I talk about peace? The truth is, as Millie sang and Robert played, yes, there can be peace on earth, but it has to begin in us. It has to begin with me. So you ask, what does all this mean? Let there be peace on earth. The angel of the Lord appeared and said, peace, goodwill to all. Peace, goodwill to all. Matthew, the 5th chapter, the 5th verse says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." And who are we? Who are we but peacemakers? Because we are the children of God. Jesus is saying peaceable individuals initiate goodwill and actively promote peace. Is this an outdated idea? We have so many gurus nowadays talking about spirituality and all the new age things is this an outdated idea that we can have peace on earth? Some think that the only way to survive in this world is to be intimidating, aggressive, and even violent. Is it wiser to exchange like for like, aggression for aggression, hate for hate? Wasn't it Gandhi who said, "An eye for an eye leaves everyone blind, and our children never see"? So how can we practice being peacemakers when all that we see around us is other than peace? Consider the peace prayer that Duke wrote that we say every day, every Sunday when we start our service. Peaceful mind, peaceful heart, peaceful spirit. That has to be in us. Peaceful mind, peaceful heart, peaceful spirit. Medical reports tell us that anger and hostility can become triggers for strokes and heart attacks. And our relationships suffer when we're not at peace with ourselves. People who display angry behavior often alienate themselves from the very people they love. We begin each Sunday service with these words. Do we practice what we preach throughout the week? On this day, we dedicate ourselves to peace on earth. We accept ourselves without harsh judgment and express appreciation for our individuality. In other words, we have peace within. We accept others without prejudice to experience a sense of unity with all people. All people. In harmony with ourselves, our lives, and all others, we live this day with a peaceful mind, a peaceful heart, and a peaceful spirit. We need to say that every day, not just on Sunday morning. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. I love backstories. You know, I love telling stories, and I love listening to good stories. So I just had to do a little research. I always wondered where that song originated, because I grew up in the Baptist church in a town not too far from here, and we did not sing "Let There Be Peace on Earth." Well, maybe we sang it in different ways, but I never heard "Let There Be Peace on Earth" until 1972, when I first set foot in a Unity church. It captivated me. There's something about holding hands and then raising them up together, standing next to people you don't even know, and feeling that love, that genuine love, when you sing that song. So I did a little research. Cy Miller and Jill Jackson were a husband and wife songwriting team. They put on paper their dream of peace for the world and their belief that each of us could bring about peace. They introduced the song to 180 teenagers at a retreat high in the mountains in California. And during the retreat, they had the children stand together in a circle and sing the peace song. Now, these children were pre-selected. They were from various religions, races, cultures, and economic backgrounds. Cy and Jill's experiment was the idea of creating understanding and friendship through education, discussion groups, and living and working together in a camp environment. These children locked arms when they formed the circle and sang this song of peace. The same song we sing after the service every Sunday, and Millie graced us with this morning. The writers felt that singing the song with its simple, basic sentiment, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me," helped create a climate for world peace and understanding. And after the retreat, it didn't stop there. The students went home and taught their families the song. They went to their schools and sang the song. They sang it at graduations. People started singing it at PTA meetings and clubs and churches and Christmas and Easter programs and Brotherhood Week. It scattered around all 50 states. The theme for Veterans Day was Let There Be Peace on Earth, and they sang it at the Human Rights Day, at United Nations Day, and United Auto Workers Union, the American Legion, the B'nai B'rith Society, Kiwanis Clubs, and the Congress on Racial Equality. It was recorded, copied, printed in songbooks, and passed on by word of mouth. It was sung in other continents and other languages, and it still is today. It spread to Holland and England and Italy and France and Germany, Lebanon, Japan, India, South and Central America, the continents, and Africa, Asia, Australia, New Zealand. It was performed by professionals like Tennessee Ernie Ford, Nat King Cole, Gladys Knight, Pat Boone, and the Boston Pops, and many others. It was awarded the George Washington Honor Medal by Freedom's Foundation at Valley Forge for outstanding achievement in helping bring about a better understanding of the American culture. It was awarded the Brotherhood Award of the National Conference of Christians and Jews. In 2009, it was published as a children's book. And most recently, when we're getting all geared up for the Christmas holiday, it's become a commercial for Glade and Microsoft. Have you seen it? Everybody's getting into the act of letting there be peace on earth. Cy Miller, the co-author of the husband and wife team of this song, wrote, "The song continues to travel heart to heart, gathering people everywhere to become a note in a song of understanding and peace, peace for all mankind." In the end of the song, we sing, with God as creator. Some say with God as family. Some say brothers and sisters are we. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Mother Teresa said it this way: if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. If we have no peace, it's because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. So how do I let peace begin with me? Well, you know I like to tell stories. So I have one for you. There was a king who offered a prize to the artist who painted the perfect picture of peace. The king looked at all the pictures because many of the artists tried out for this, but only two stood out. One was a calm lake, a mirror of peaceful towering mountains all around it, and overhead a blue sky with fluffy white clouds. All who saw this picture thought it was the perfect picture of peace. The other picture had mountains too, but they were rugged and bare. Above was an angry sky from which rain fell and lightning played. Down the side tumbled a foaming waterfall. The picture did not look peaceful at all. Behind the waterfall, as the king examined the picture more closely, he discovered a mother bird had built her nest in a crack. In the midst of the rush of the angry water sat the mother bird on her nest in perfect peace. Of course, the king had to choose between the two. He chose that picture. And others wondered why, because the other picture was so much more peaceful looking and beautiful. And he said something that I put on your bulletin, so you take that home with you. Because there may be times this week when, like me, your peace may be challenged. The moral to the story, he said, is because peace does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, trouble, or hard work. Peace means to be in the midst of all those things and still be calm in your heart. That is the real meaning of peace. A further illustration can be found in The Danger of a Single Story, which was shared with me by one of our congregants. I invite you to look at that on YouTube. It's a powerful story. A young African lady from Nigeria is telling the story about how we misjudge people because we only see them as a single story. So here's an illustration of that. Once there was a war between two armies. They were really battling it out. They fought from the time the sun came up in the east till it set in the west. And at the end of the day, only two warriors still stood, surrounded by their dead comrades, covered in blood and the gore of war. Tired, they took off their dented helmets, unstrapped their shields, and unsheathed their swords. They lay down among their fallen comrades, only a few feet apart from each other. Though they were weary, so weary that they couldn't sleep. You know, it's the kind of weariness that comes from too much killing. Finally, one turned to the other and spoke, I have a son at home in my village, and he plays with a wooden sword. Someday he wants to be just like me. The other listened and finally replied, I have a daughter at home, and when I look into her eyes, I see the youth of my wife. The two men started to tell their stories of their families, their villages, their neighbors, old stories that they learned sitting at the knee of their grandparents. All night they told stories, and the sun started to creep to life in the east. It was time to start the battle again. Slowly they stood up, buckled on their shields, put on their helmets, and drew their swords. Then they looked deep into each other's eyes and slowly sheathed their swords and walked away. You see, you can't hate someone when you know their story. You can't hate someone when you know their story. That's what Let There Be Peace on Earth and Let It Begin With Me is all about. Sometimes we say namaste, and many of you may not know that word, namaste. It's a Sanskrit word. And what it means in many interpretations, but basically it means, I see you. I hear your story. I see a reflection of you in my eyes. Namaste. In John, the 14th chapter, the 27th verse, Jesus said, my peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. This peace of which Jesus speaks enables us to remain calm in the midst of a storm, in the midst of chaos in our personal lives, in the news across the world, whether it's San Bernardino or Kansas City. This is the peace that passes all understanding. The Hebrew Bible uses the word shalom. Shalom means peace be unto you. It's without condition. When you're greeted with shalom, it means I see the peace in you. No matter what's going on the outside, I know there is peace within. When you have peace, circumstances can't touch that deep peace. You may be flustered on the outside, but inside you is a peace so deep nothing can touch it. It enables us to hush a cry, to still a riot, to rejoice in pain, and to sing in the middle of suffering. It enables us, like those two soldiers, to stop a war. In the family, between neighbors, or between cultures. Many languages define peace as the presence of God, and some think of peace by definition as the absence of trouble. But peace has nothing to do with your trouble. It's your consciousness. The Quechua Indians in Ecuador and Bolivia, for example, say peace means to sit down in one's heart. To sit down in one's heart. When the world appears to be in total chaos and everything around us appears to be falling apart, there is a source of peace so deep within us that all we need to do is tap into it through affirmative prayer and meditation. The Dalai Lama said we can never obtain peace in ourselves, or in our world rather, until we make peace within ourselves. We can never obtain peace in our world until we make peace within ourselves. The Christmas story has been passed down for centuries, and we keep hearing the same message over and over. And we wonder, are we practicing what we preach? So when we close our service today with the song, Let There Be Peace on Earth, and let it begin with me, ask yourself, are you preparing for the coming of peace in your life? Are you making way, making room, making space for peace to appear in your life? Think about this as we go into meditation. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. We can feel God's mighty power in, around, and through us. I invite you now to find a comfortable position in your seats. Let go of your worries, anything that may be disturbing your peace at this moment. Breathe deeply, knowing that God is with you and all is well. Close your eyes and turn your thoughts from the outer to within, to a place of peace. And just breathe. Inner peace. Inner peace. Quiet times with God, where nothing can disturb the deep, calm peace of your soul. Sometimes during quiet and inactive times, peace may seem to elude us. Thoughts of concern and doubt begin to fill our minds. Simply being quiet isn't always finding peace. Yet being quiet while meditating on the presence of God within me, I experience peace of mind. Because I have moved my thoughts from challenges and problems to the power and presence of God in me and in my world. These quiet times with God strengthen my resolve to live from the serenity at the core of my being. To live from the serenity at the core of my being, where I am poised and centered in the Christ mind, and nothing disturbs the deep, calm peace of my soul in the silence. I now invite you to return your awareness to this place and time, continuing to feel the peace within your soul. And as you go about your day and your week, the hustle and bustle of the holiday season, you can always return to that center of peace. Thank you, God. As I find peace within myself, I create peace on earth, goodwill to all. And so it is.
Peace I give to you.